This is an update on the Stewart's Zeebest okra. It's the most unique okra I've ever grown. I've grown a lot of okras, Cowhorn, Hill Country Red, tons of Clemson Spineless, and a few others. This has got the biggest leaves I've ever seen. These leaves are huge, and I mean huge, bigger than any okra's leaves. And they're not, by any chance, losing any sun. They're so wide, there's no divisions in them. They're so wide, you know they're going to catch every ray of sun to give energy to the plant, so it can make a whole bunch of okra. Look at that! It's just big and beautiful okra. The pods are going to be beautiful too. I've already seen some starting out already. They don't have the ribs that the common Clemson Spineless types do. Almost all the okra are just divisions of types of Clemson Spineless, and they all have ribs, and they're thick and kind of fat and tough, and they get tough quick. You got to pick them when they're real little. This kind of okra doesn't have any ribs on it. It's smooth and long and narrow, and it stays that way. Here's a pod. See, it's long, narrow, no ribs. Really cool. Very delicious. There's another one. And this is just starting out. I didn't plant this that long ago. It's really growing fast. It loves heat. And as far as the plant here that came up as a weed, the first time I've ever seen one of these here, this is a devil's claw. They call it that because of this big old pod that is already put out. This pod splits and makes two claws which catch on feet of hoofed animals like wild pigs, peccaries, camels, deer, all kinds of animals. It catches on their feet and it shakes the seeds around, and then they lose it. But it might be dragged for a long ways, so it really does spread the seeds well. And the flowers of the devil's claw are just beautiful. Look at that. They're just beautiful. And it's got a wonderful smell. It's medicinal. I don't like the name devil's claw. I think they should just call it something else, because there's no way this would be associated with anything bad. I mean, it's great. Anyway, I wanted you to see how the okra, the Stewart Zeebest okra, is so unique from all the other okras I've ever seen. They're giant leafed and they're just beautiful plants. They're definitely very unique. So if you were trying to get an okra that's different, this is the most different okra you're going to find, because I'm telling you, this really was developed by somebody who spent a lot of time doing it. A couple, Mr. and Mrs. Stewart in Houston, worked on this for 30 years from Louisiana green velvet to try to make an okra that was more productive, more branches, and they did it. Just wait and see. We're getting ready to finally get rain after a full month with none. Zero rain. We've had a serious drought, and this okra is going to spring up once this gets rained on. So next weekend, I'm going to make a video. This okra is not going to look like this. It's going to be a little forest filled with okra and branching okra with all kinds of pods on it. And the tenderest okra you can get. The narrow, thin, tender okra. It's awesome stuff. It's there. You can save the seeds too, real easy, whenever you get them. You need to get you some of this if you're growing okra. The reason I think it's so great is the Clemson Spineless types, which are most of them, they're all derivatives of it. They got little narrow leaflets, and they don't catch a lot of sun. And this is what I think. Because these leaves are really, really wide, like a solar panel, they're going to catch all the sun, and they're going to make a lot of fruit. I'm telling you, this right here is definitely over a foot long. Here's a size 13 shoe. It's bigger than my shoe. So you can see there's some big leaves. Just look at them. They're huge. This year, all my figs died back to the ground, except for a couple of them. And rarely enough, this did not die back to the ground, and that's my Alma fig. My Alma fig is one that usually is the least hardy of all of them. And it's going to give me a breva crop. It's actually got little figs on it that overwintered. So we're going to see a big old tree this year. I think my problem with overwintering, besides it being too cold, I've learned something about overwintering figs. Don't fertilize them the last few months before frost. And that's important, because if you get them growing really good in the fall, they're not going to take it. They're going to have new tender growth. You want to shut them down. Let them harden off. That's what you want to do. The pear trees are really abundant this year. Really abundant. See that? Lots of pears. I'll be making some pretty good pear juice. Here's how I keep deer out of my okra garden. I put up some chicken wire. Very simple. I just leaned it up against this wire tight and hung a bell from the wire, so when they come up to think about jumping it, they hit the bell and it scares them off. And it only goes around the okra. It's real flimsy, but it's good enough. It's just a net. Here's another bell. That's enough to scare them to death. They don't want to go in there. That way I can eat this okra and they don't eat it all up. They were eating it, but they don't want it now. They got plenty of other things to eat. They can sure eat the shoots on my muscadines. They need to be tipped off anyway. It's good to take your muscadines and these little tips, take that growing tip, pinch it off. That growing tip, pinch it off. And then what that does is it makes them bush out in here where they can make more fruit. Probably know about that already. See? Let's see something here. There you go, there's some light. See all the muscadines in there? I'm going to let them have some stockiness to them by pinching these tips off. It makes them develop back inside. So that's the pear tree. Way up there. It's a big tall pear. Can't hardly see, it's getting dark out here. We're having a thunderstorm.